Hey guys, welcome to my home. Are you ready for a Polish food? Because I am. So let's get cooking and I will show you step by step. So I'm going to make my own broth, and for that I added a beef, chicken and a turkey. For the broth I do two things. I cook the meat first in a separate pan clear. I don't want my broth to have any scum or anything swimming in it. That's why I cook that in here first. How long do I cook? Until it starts releasing all the scum. Then I'm taking it off, washing it under the sink. I will show you step by step what I do. And all of that meat then goes into the pan with the warm water in it. So let's fill this up with the water, the meat, and start cooking. I'm going to cut them for smaller pieces. Let's take care of the celery root. The root with the green part, because I like to use the green parts also for my soup. Okay, so for this soup I'm going to use 3 of these ones and maybe like a little bit the smaller one. The rest I'm going to save it for later for a different soup. Okay, wash them well. There we go. And this part, cut this off because we don't need that part. For the soup, especially that big pan, we are not going to use the whole thing. It will be way too much. The celery root is stronger than actual celery stick. So we're going to use only, it's smaller, so we're going to use like half of it or a little bit smaller half. About the dill. In Poland, we use a lot of dill for different things. The thing that I'm going to use for this broth is the Italian parsley. What I need is leek. I'm going to remove the first layers. So I'll show you. This is the soup. So this is what's going on when you start cooking the meat. This is going to be coming out from the meat, and I don't want this in my broth. That's why I always cook this separately from the original pan where it's going to be the broth. Let's clean this up and let's put this into the soup. So here we go. This meat is ready. Let's put this back. So I know you would have a question about that soup, why I'm doing this, and if the flavor of the meat is going to be left in the soup. Yes, I am not removing the flavor from the meat. I am just cooking it to the point where I can pull it out quickly, clean it, and put it back into the soup. So meat is not cooked through. Meat is just cooked enough to remove that scum from the meat. And then the meat is going to be still cooking for some time in the soup. And for today, for that broth that I'm making, why I use so much meat, I used it more because I'm going to make a pate from that soup, and I'm going to show you step by step what I do for the pate. And that's why I have a bigger pot. So it's a flavor, not overwhelming flavor. And for every broth I make, I always make broth with piece of beef, piece of turkey, and piece of chicken. For example, my mom makes her broth with the piece of beef, piece of chicken, and also a piece of duck. So that water with the meat is going to start boiling. I'm going to add the veggies that I cut except the carrots. I want carrots to be not overcooked. So I always add them into the broth in the last moment. After the water is going to start boiling, I am going to also lower the temperature to small or minimum, and I'm going to just have that soup slowly simmering. The reason for it is I want the broth to be clear. If you start boiling that broth for higher temperature, you're not going to have a clear broth. You're going to have that kind of like a cloudy broth, and this is not what I want. So soup is starting to boil. I don't wanna have that start boiling more, so I'm going to lower the temperature. I am going to add all the greenery stuff. It's up to your taste. I like a little bit more. And salt. The thing I used is a Polish spice. It's called lubczyk. I think it's called loverage, something like this. This to the broth too. How much? Not too much, but at least some. Okay, something like this, like maybe 1 teaspoon of it. Have that now slowly cook for, I like to cook it for at least 2 hours, because this way the broth and the veggies will give you the best flavor into that broth. And one more thing we're going to add to the broth, it's the onion. We cannot forget the onion. But with the onion, I'm going to show you a trick, what I do with it to give you the best taste of it. I just not only peel it and just drop it like that. I used to, but the best taste is when you burn the onion a little bit. So we have a peeled onion, and I'm going to slice this onion pretty big slices. Let me show you. It's not going to be thin, it's going to be thick around this. So this is my pan, frying pan. It's very old and it's only for the onions. On this pan I don't have any oil, nothing. It's just clear pan. I'm going to put these onion slices on. I'm not sure if you can hear the sizzling. Here you go. I want at least some kind of like a darker circles, like a burnt circles of the onion. Let's check the other one. Sometimes it gets stuck. Here we go, even better. Our onion is ready. Let's put this into our broth. I want to show you the other side. There you go. I know you guys have a question if that kind of burnt onion is going to be taste awful like a burnt soup. No, that onion is going to give you this caramelized sweet taste, because with this burning onion you're pulling out the sweetness out of the onion. And trust me, I tried with fresh onion soup and I tried with that burnt onion, and definitely the broth tastes much better when you burn your onion. Okay guys, so broth is cooking. I'm going to start on my pie because I have to do one very important thing that needs to cool down, and this is the pudding. I buy a Polish pudding on Amazon. I'm going to link this pudding for you guys. I'm going to add almost all of it. Some I'm going to reserve to mix that pudding packet in that glass. So then when the milk is going to be boiling, I'm going to add mixed liquid, milk and pudding, all into that boiling milk. I'm going to reserve this much. Let's put this on the stove and let's start cooking it. Our pudding. Make sure you mix it well so you do not have any clumps of the pudding powder in the milk. Okay, it's ready. Dough, we're going to need 125 grams of butter and unsalted butter. We are going to warm it so the honey and the butter mixture is going to combine. Now we're going to need 500 grams of the flour, and I always use the Bob's Red Mill flour. Now we're going to add some baking soda. There we go. Let's mix it. Yeah. Mixture. Okay, let's mix our dough and then we're going to prep our pecans. All right, guys, the dough is ready. So now we can start prepping our pecans. Of a butter, maybe less, because I added a little bit more from the previous stick. So I would say just add half stick of a butter. I'm going to add around that much of the honey. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Perfect. I'm going to use it for my pate. And see how easy it is to remove. So I'm just going to use this net to catch whatever I don't want in my broth. The broth is still hot. So the jar is dry, has no liquid or fat on the side. Now this is the lid that is also sterilized. Okay. Start boiling again. I'm going to add some rice and I'm going to make a soup that my grandpa loved it all the time. So soup is almost boiling, so I'm just going to put first I'm going to put a cup of rice. I use jasmine rice. Probably I'm going to need a little bit more, so I don't want to add too much, that's the problem. Maybe like 1/3 of the cup extra. That's it. Amazon, I found a packet of the krupnik dry mix. So I'm just going to add this to it because it's giving you extra good flavor. And it has like a oatmeal, like a rolled oats, Polish rolled oats in it. So this is what also gives that soup a really good flavor. So I'm going to link these packets in the description. The story behind that soup is my grandpa loved the soup. It's very easy to make. You just need some meat, a little bit of the veggies, and you can cook the broth and then just add rice. And you have a delicious food. A few times my mom and my dad, they had to stay longer at work, or they had to stay more than 24 hours when during the Polish communist country the factories were on a strike. They had to stay and strike in the factories. So my grandpa was coming to take care of me and my sister, to watch over us. So he was cooking soup. So for every day we had that soup. It's called krupnik. So when finally my mom came back, she was like, "Hey guys, let's cook the krupnik." And we're like, "No, we don't want any krupnik. We're done with this soup." Grandpa was cooking it every day. So that's the story that I remember from my childhood of that soup. So every time I eat this soup, yeah, sorry, I'm going to cry. Every time I eat this soup, I remember my grandpa. Before you add this, mix it in the glass with a cold water, and then that mixture add to your soup. Otherwise, you are going to have a huge clump in your soup, and you don't want that. This is the mixture of the packet. I'm going to add this to the soup. Here is the rice, it's almost done. If I need to add a little bit more of salt because I added rice. Yeah, definitely more salt, but that soup smells like my childhood. Soup is almost ready. It's time for the dinner in Poland. So let's do the dough for the pie. We need to cut that in rough 3 pieces. I already prepped the parchment paper for the dough. This way it's easier to roll this dough. To put extra parchment paper on the top, and this we are going to roll. It's going to be so much faster and so much easier. So this is what I'm looking for. It should be thin, it shouldn't be thick. I am going to have that pan made with the cake. But okay guys, the first dough is ready, it's already baked. We're going to pull it on the rack to cool it. And now we're going to put the second one and bake it again for 10 minutes. First one, I'm going to try to pull that parchment paper so it dries quickly, doesn't get soggy. I want this to be dry. All right, so this is what I'm looking for, that everywhere you have a pecans with the butter and the honey mix. Let's release this paper from the dough so it cools down really good. This one I am not going to toss. I will show you what I'm going to do. We're going to make the final pie, and this is why we needed this paper. So we do not going to waste any extra parchment paper. We're going to use. Let's finish up the cake, and now we need to do the cream. So for that, I'm going to need that caramel and mascarpone cheese. The last one is our pudding. And all of that we are going to mix. Baked dough. So we're going to put dough, cream, another dough, cream, and then the last dough with the pecans. It's ready. So this pie you can eat within the next 12 hours. Now we're going to do the bread and we're going to finish our pate. To make the bread, you need warm water. Remember, not too hot, because this way you're going to kill your yeast. And for my bread, I use this kind of yeast. It's a dry yeast, Gold Instant Dry Yeast. I will link this below. So let me show you how I do it. First of all, I use this glass with warm water to start my yeast. Usually for the bread, you need like a small packet of the yeast, or around 8 to 9 grams of the yeast. For me, I know it's a tablespoon. I'm also going to add a little bit of the sugar and some of the flour, like that. Yeast is all dissolved in the water, mixed well. Now let's cover it with the plastic foil. It looks like our yeast started to work, so now it's our time to work. We need the bread flour. For that one, I use the Bob's Red Mill bread flour. For the bread that I make, I need 500 grams of the flour, and I add like 1 tablespoon of that vinegar. You can need a 1 tablespoon of a good oil of that yeast. I am not sure if you can see it. See these bubbles? It's all yeast working nicely. All right. To the rest of the dough, we're going to add some warm water. Remember, warm water, not hot. If you add hot water to your dough, you're going to kill the yeast and your bread won't rise. So, how much water? It's usually for 500 grams of flour, it's around 300 ml of warm water. Mix it with this mixing attachments, and I'm going to mix it for 3 minutes with these attachments. You press and stretch, press and stretch. This is how to make the dough the best. The dough is ready. Let's leave this in to rise more. I use the single-use shower caps. Nicely it rised, okay, flat. And now pull few sides of the bread and let's pull them like this, all inside. And now the edge inside. Make sure you do not burn yourself when you do this. Okay, it didn't go accordingly, but it's okay. Okay, let's cut. We're going to bake this a half an hour covered. Then we're going to take off the cover and we're going to bake this for 18 more minutes. Now we need to pull this bread from the baking dish and leave it on the drying rack. Hear this? Okay guys, so let's start with the pate. So this is the meat that I had from that broth thing. With this, we are going to pull all the bones from the meat and then we're going to grind it. And we're going to grind this 3 times. Pate needs to be grounded 3 times. So you just have to take something sharp and just make a lot of holes all around the liver. It's ready. We can pull it on the side. Woo! So our liver is cooled down, so we can start grinding our meat, our pate. I'm going to add some pepper into salt. Egg, not too much, just tiny bit. Second. And let's mix it now again. Yeehaw. Hey guys, so we already ate part of the bread, but I want to show you how it looks inside. This is how it looks inside. Sorry for the... Okay. This is how it looks inside the bread. And I'm going to make a sandwiches for myself with the pate. And this is how it looks, the pate inside. Let's the camera focus on that. Okay, here we go. So, through like a butter. Very nice and soft and very creamy. So, this is a Polish company. It's called Lowell and it's marinated bell peppers. The pate has this delicious taste, not overwhelming. Okay guys, thank you for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, subscribe and press the like button, and I'll see you with my new video coming next week.